I used to believe that love, once built, would stand tall like a monument, unshakable, unbreakable. But the cracks don't show up all at once. They whisper in silences and sighs, in glances that linger too long on the floor instead of the eyes. I remember the first time I felt it, the shift. It wasn't something she said, it was what she didn't. Her name was Lila, and we had been together for 5 years. We had routines, inside jokes, favorite songs that felt like our own. But somewhere in the comfort, a quiet unfamiliarity began to settle in. I started noticing the small absences. She didn't hum in the kitchen anymore. She stopped reaching for my hand when we crossed the street. But instead of asking why, I told myself it was nothing. I told myself not to overreact. That's always been my problem. I keep things in. I let my doubts fester like shadows on the wall. Never loud, just always there. It comes from way back, I think. My father left when I was 7. No goodbye, just a vanishing act. Since then, I've been wary of happiness. I wait for the floor to collapse, even when I'm dancing. With Lila, I began to question everything. Was she tired, or just tired of me? Did that new coworker make her laugh the way I used to? Each time I almost asked, I swallowed the words. I didn't want to seem insecure. I didn't want to push her further away, but the space between us kept growing, fed by the words we never said. We stopped talking late into the night. Her texts got shorter. And still, I pretended it was fine. I became colder in response, detached. I convinced myself that if she wanted to leave, I'd make it easy for her. That way, it would hurt less. But that's the cruelest lie I've ever told myself. One evening, she stood in the doorway with her bags packed. Her voice didn't tremble when she said, "I can't do this anymore." She wasn't angry, just exhausted. And I couldn't say a word. I just nodded, watching everything we built fold in on itself without even a raised voice, just the sound of the door clicking shut behind her. And that's how doubt destroyed what love had taken years to build, not with an explosion, but with a quiet fade into nothingness. The days that followed were eerily quiet. I would wake up and instinctively reach for her side of the bed, only to find a cold emptiness where warmth used to be. I couldn't eat. Music became unbearable. Every song reminded me of a moment, a laugh, a promise. I kept thinking there must have been a way to fix it. Maybe if I had just spoken up, maybe if I hadn't let fear dictate my silence. I didn't reach out to her, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know what to say. What do you say to the person who gave you their heart, when you realize too late that your doubt cracked it? Maria, my older sister, was the first one to confront me. She didn't come with comforting words, she came with hard truths. She sat me down one evening and asked, "Why are you always expecting people to leave you? Why is love always something you think you don't deserve?" That hit me harder than I expected. I had never thought of it that way. I told her it wasn't like that Leela changed, that I was just reacting to what I felt. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were laced with fear. Maria looked me in the eyes and said, "Maybe she didn't change. Maybe you just stopped trusting her the moment things got quiet." That stayed with me. I started therapy, slowly, hesitantly. I didn't know what I expected, but I knew I couldn't carry this weight alone. In those sessions, I peeled back years of mistrust, abandonment, and fear. I learned that my doubt wasn't about Lila, it was about me. It was a lens I wore over every connection, every bond, and because I never let myself feel truly safe, I never gave her a chance to be safe with me either. Months passed, seasons changed. I didn't try to win Lila back. That wasn't the point anymore. What I needed was to face myself, to find the boy inside me who had never healed and tell him he was finally safe now. That he didn't need to push people away before they could leave. I wrote Leela a letter one day. Not asking for anything, just to say I was sorry, that I understood now, that I hoped she found someone who didn't let silence win. I don't know if she ever read it, but writing it felt like breathing again. Love can't survive on hope alone. It needs honesty, it needs presence, and most of all, it needs a heart that believes it's worthy of being loved. Sometimes the loudest heartbreak isn't the one that ends in screaming, but the one that ends in silence. Doubt is a thief. It steals trust. It poisons peace. And if we're not careful, it convinces us that love isn't real. But healing begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. We must learn to speak, to listen, and to trust, not just others, but our own worth. If this story touched something in you, maybe it's time to say what's been left unsaid. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe for more from the tales we share.